So I've been playing around with OpenAI's playground, and I've just been taking excerpts from my journal entries and then letting the AI use my writing as a style and just continue to write. And it's come up with some crazy stuff. So this is my original journal entry from July 8th of 2020, where I write, well, things have gotten worse, a lot worse, after massive protests erupted across the country. A huge spike in COVID-19 cases have occurred. The protests occurred because a black man named George Floyd was killed by a police officer. While I'm sure most of the protesters were well intended, a lot of them took advantage of the situation and rioted. Businesses were destroyed and looted. 6 blocks of Seattle were even hijacked by a group of protesters that called themselves CHAZ, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. They refused to let police or first responders enter. Shootings occurred, people died. Supposedly the mayor got sick of it after a month and sent police in to clear the streets, but I think Chaz still exists. Of course, 2 weeks after the protests, numbers all over the US have gone way up. So this was a journal I was keeping at the time of COVID, and I wasn't keeping up with it very well, so I would kind of, write and try to basically summarize what had happened between my last entry. So sometimes it would summarize a week's worth or a month's worth or even 2 or 3 months worth of stuff. And it's really just more of an exercise in just writing, just because I don't have time to write anymore. And it's just, at least I'm writing something, even if it's just gibberish. So now we'll take the playground, and these are the settings I have. I'm using the DaVinci engine, um, frequency penalty, and things like that. And we're just going to let the artificial intelligence use my writing as a guide and see where it goes. Alright, let's see what it said. I'm going to do a bit of research on this, July 9th, 2020. Well, it seems that the protests had nothing to do with COVID-19. There was no spike in cases before or after they happened. It also appears that there is no real connection between people who have been infected and those involved in Chaz either. The only thing we know for sure about what caused these new cases is how easily spreadable it is now, and if someone catches this from you, you can catch it back from them too. So be careful out there, folks. And as always, stay safe, Seattle. It's so weird. It's almost like maybe this is something that happened in the multiverse. A journal entry I wrote in the multiverse or something. Let's see what it does again. I'm not sure what it is, but there are more people infected than ever before. There are reports of over 500 cases in one day. I don't know how this will end. If you think about the numbers, we could be looking at millions by July 2020. It makes me wonder if Chaz had something to do with all these new infections. Let's continue that. July 11th, 2020. I'm writing this from a quarantine center. It was my turn to be picked up today. I don't know how long they will keep me here, what is going on outside of these walls, but it doesn't look good for anyone who hasn't been infected yet. Okay. July 13th, 2020. My guess was right. This place is a quarantine center for COVID-19 patients. I don't know how many people are here, but it looks like the number of cases has reached over 1 million in just 4 days. The government hasn't said anything about what they plan to do with us yet. I mean, it kind of does follow my cadence and my style. It's starting to get a little repetitive, though. Let's see, one more. July 14th, 2020. I'm writing this from a different quarantine center. I was moved here last night. They said they were going to move me because of overcrowding at the first place, but it seems like there are more people in this one than before. It's kind of starting to, you can see it's kind of repeating the same sort of pattern. It's, date, sentence, trail off, date, sentence, trail off, date, sentence, trail off. That's probably going to do it again. Let's see, July 15th, 2020. I'm writing this from a different quarantine center. I was here last night. Yeah, it just did the same thing. It starts to get repetitive after a while, I've noticed. It just kind of, sometimes it'll spit out just the weirdest things. So, okay, that was interesting. Let's start anew. Let's see where it goes from here. Sometimes it writes a lot, and sometimes it writes a little. It just kind of, I don't know. I'm still kind of flabbergasted that this does what it does. Part of me wonders if this is stuff that's already written, that it's found somewhere, if it's actually making it up, or what. Like, it just wrote a lot right there. So let's see what this says. So the bold is what I wrote, and this is where the AI started. The CDC says that the number of COVID-19 cases has increased by 20% in just 2 weeks. The government's response is to send all police officers and first responders into cities where outbreaks have occurred. The increase in numbers means we're now at phase 2, outbreak, as described on page 27 of the survival guide, which I posted here. They say if you can get through this phase without getting infected, then it will be a lot easier for you to survive long term, because they expect things to start calming down once people learn how not to spread the disease. We've been keeping up with our decontamination procedures pretty well, but since there are so many more people around us now, we haven't been able to do them nearly as often or thoroughly as before. We also don't know who might be infected anymore. Every time someone new comes over, they could potentially bring something bad with them. So even though my parents were very careful about washing their hands after going outside, which is basically everyone these days, they still got sick from some lady who brought it home from work one day when she came back covered in blood from dealing with an outbreak victim out on her route. My mom got really scared because Dad started coughing up stuff like he did last year when he died, but thankfully his cough didn't turn into anything worse than that for him anyway. But Mom wasn't so lucky. She ended up dying a few hours later while crying hysterically and begging me not to leave her alone. It was horrible. At least she doesn't have any pain, right? That's what I keep telling myself. I mean, why would God let such a good person suffer like this? It makes no sense. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Forgive me, Father, for saying God. Ha ha ha. Anyway, yeah, so now only a third of our family remains alive. Ha ha. I wouldn't use all of these little happy, sad faces. I think it's starting to think I'm a 12-year-old girl or something. Dad told me yesterday that he thinks he'll die soon, too. I thought he was already dead. He looks terrible. He said there's nothing left inside him because cancer cells trying desperately to kill each other off. LOLOL. Anyways, gotta go make sure Dad isn't dead yet. Peace, heart. That's weird. I don't know, I must have thought that I was a 14-year-old girl or something. I don't know. I think maybe I need to give it some more samples of my writing, because it went a little weird there. Alright, one more. This is so weird. Okay, of course, 2 weeks after the protests, numbers all over the US have gone way up. I'm sure it has something to do with the stress of everything. I mean, we had a police officer who was literally on trial for murder, and he got off scot-free. That's interesting. But what really shocked me is that the virus is now in Canada too. The Canadian government tried their best to cover up the news, but they couldn't hide it forever. Now everyone knows about COVID-19. It makes sense since our countries are so close together and have such similar cultures, right? What did surprise me, though, was how quickly things spread there, almost as if someone knew where to look first or something like that. But anyway, no one knows exactly why these people get sick from COVID-19 either way, so all we can do is watch them suffer until they die, or worse, turn into zombies themselves. It must. It's... Anyways, I'm gonna keep playing around with this thing. I think it's fascinating. It's the first time I've seen AI generated text that actually sounds like it was written by a human. You know what I mean? Like it's getting better. It's not quite there. It's got some issues still, but I think it's improved, which is very scary. And some of the things I've heard that this stuff can do. They were worried about deep fakes with video and audio. You know how you can make these fake videos of world leaders declaring nuclear war on stuff, and now we have this simple OpenAI platform that you could tell this thing in plain English without any coding skills whatsoever to write, let's say a CDC style report on COVID-19, explaining how it's gonna destroy, a third of the population in the next 4 months if we don't get everyone vaccinated, and just, it would sound real. It would fool people, and I guess what I'm getting at, and I'm sorry if I'm mumbling, is that this thing could be used for deep disinformation campaigns if we let it. I mean, just imagine if troll farms got their hands on this thing, and the things they could put on social media, and just, phew, I don't know. Something like this could be scary in the wrong hands. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know.